What if I told you that what you called loss was also revelation? Something I allowed not to break you, but to uncover you. You have been holding that ending like a verdict over your life, as if the departure was proof that you are unworthy, forgettable, replaceable. But I am telling you now, that person was never your promise. They were my mirror. And I know the confusion in you. I know the way your chest tightens when you remember how quickly it changed, how you feel used like you were a season to them, a convenience, a placeholder. I know how it feels like you were discarded, like they moved on with a calmness you cannot understand, and you have been asking me in the quiet, why did you let me love someone who would not stay? Why did you let me hope? Why did you let me build a future in my mind that never arrived? You are not weak for asking. You are not faithless for grieving. You are simply human, and you have been trying to find meaning in what felt meaningless. Listen to me. A mirror is not cruel because it shows you what is there. A mirror does not hate you, it reveals you. And some relationships are not sent to hold you, they are allowed to show you. You thought you were losing them, but what you were truly facing was what their presence exposed. The wound that still flinches when love feels uncertain. The part of you that confuses intensity for safety. The hidden bargain you make in silence. If I become enough, they will choose me. That is not love. That is thirst, wearing perfume. That is old pain, reaching for a new face. I did not allow this to poison your future. I allowed it to protect your future. Because if you had arrived at your destination with those wounds still unnamed, you would have called it love and built a life on anxiety. You would have mistaken tolerance for devotion, breadcrumbs for covenant, chemistry for calling. So, I let the mirror stand close. I let it reflect, not to shame you, but to bring what was hidden into light, because what stays hidden keeps ruling you. And here's the promise I am placing in your spirit. You will get closure without bitterness. An ending that does not harden you. A release that does not turn you into someone suspicious, cold, and guarded against the very love I am preparing for you. I am not healing you so you can hate more efficiently. I am healing you so you can love rightly, without losing yourself, without begging, without shrinking, without performing. Stay with me, because I will walk you through this in order. We will move from pain to pattern, from pattern to purpose, from purpose to peace. And as we go, you will stop calling yourself abandoned, and you will begin to recognize what I was doing. I was not taking your promise away. I was showing you what still needed healing before your promise could safely arrive. And now you keep replaying it. You keep reopening the thread. You keep rereading what they said and what they did not say. You scroll until your eyes are tired, until your chest is tight, until your mind has built a courtroom where every memory is evidence and every silence is a sentence. You revisit the day it changed. You rehearse the last conversation. You bargain with time. What if I had waited? What if I had spoken softer? What if I had been less? What if I had been more? And you have judged yourself for it. You have called it obsession. You have called it weakness. But listen to me. Your mind is not only seeking closure, your soul is seeking meaning. Because you are not only missing them, you are missing the version of you that you thought would finally be chosen. You are grieving the self you almost became in your imagination, the one who would be secure because they stayed, radiant because they saw you, calm because they committed, whole because they did not leave. That is why it aches in places you cannot name. That is why it is not satisfied by a simple explanation. You were not just attached to a person. You were attached to a prophecy you wrote in your hunger, and you believed that if they remained, it would prove something about you. And here is the false equation I am breaking in you. If they stayed, I would be worthy. If they stayed, I would be safe. If they stayed, I would finally be whole. My child, do you hear how heavy that is? Do you hear how much power you handed to a human being with human limits? You turned their consistency into your identity. You turned their attention into your assurance. You made their decision your mirror of value. And when they left, you did not just lose them, you lost the permission you were trying to receive through them to finally rest. So the loop continues, because your mind believes there is a missing piece of information that will make the pain stop, an answer, a confession, a final conversation, a perfect apology. But what if I told you the intensity of your grief is not proof that you are broken beyond repair? What if it is proof that you were made for wholeness? Some people can walk away numb because they were never built to feel deeply. But you Your sorrow is loud because your calling is deep. Your ache is not random. It is a signal. It is divine communication coming through a place you wanted to call only loss. Before you condemn yourself for missing them, listen to what the missing is saying. Listen to what gets activated when you feel unseen. Listen to what panics when love becomes uncertain. Listen to the part of you that keeps returning to the memory like a thirsty traveler returning to a dry well, hoping the sand will become water. I am not shaming you. I am inviting you. Let the replay become revelation. Let the ache become a message. And when you stop accusing yourself, you will begin to hear me clearly. You were never created to be proven by someone staying. You were created to be rooted in me, chosen before you performed, held before you achieved, whole before anyone agreed to remain. Do not numb the mirror, my child. Do not rush to replace what you lost just to silence what it is saying. Do not medicate the ache with distraction and call it healing. Stay here with me just long enough to agree with what I am revealing. Because agreement opens the heart, and when you commit to learn, the mirror becomes medicine. When you stop fighting the lesson stops fighting you. If you want messages that turn pain into purpose, messages that bring peace without bitterness, then subscribe, and let this be a doorway you walk through with me, not a room you circle in alone. And, as a sign of agreement, like this video not for a number, but for a decision in your spirit, I will not idolize what I lost. I will learn what I'm meant to heal. That one sentence will break a chain you didn't know you were wearing. And I want you to speak it with your own mouth. Comment this declaration, and let your words become alignment. I release what was never mine, and I receive what God is healing in me. Do you feel the difference? Release is not denial. It is obedience. It is you handing me what you cannot carry without becoming bitter. Now listen, because I will name what the mirror showed you. I will put language on the pattern, and I will pull the hidden wound into light, not to shame you, but to free you. You thought it was fate because it was fast. You thought it was promise because it was loud. You thought it was covenant because it was intense. But listen to me. Intensity is not the same as covering. Chemistry is not the same as character. Familiarity is not the same as safety. And sometimes, what feels like, I've never felt this before, is not heaven announcing your person. It is your wound recognizing its old language. Because counterfeit love does not arrive as hatred. It arrives as relief. It arrives as a rush of being seen just enough to quiet the ache, just enough to make you believe, just enough to make you say, finally. And that is why it is dangerous. It gives you immediate validation while quietly delaying real transformation. It feels like water on your tongue, but it does not hydrate your soul. It keeps you emotional, but it does not make you whole. It keeps you hoping, but it does not make you healed. And I am going to name the disguises, because you have been blaming yourself without understanding what happened in you. You called it love, but it was also attachment, wearing holy language. You began chasing, not because you are desperate, but because a younger part of you learned that love must be pursued to be kept. You began overgiving not because you are foolish, but because you believed generosity could purchase security. You began fixing, interpreting their inconsistency as a project, their distance as a puzzle, their wounds as an invitation for you to become the savior. You began proving, performing, adjusting your tone, your timing, your needs, trying to be easy to love, trying to be low maintenance enough that they would finally stay. Do you see it now? The relationship did not only reveal what you wanted, it revealed where you were still outsourcing who you are. It exposed the hidden bargain. If they choose me, I will choose myself. And I allowed the attachment, not as your destination, but as your mirror, so you could see the exact place you were handing your identity to someone else's appetite, someone else's attention, someone else's inconsistency. Not to shame you, to free you. You were not foolish, my child. You were thirsty. And thirst is not sin, it is information. It is the soul admitting it cannot keep living on crumbs and calling it a meal. The power you felt was not always promise. Often it was pain being touched. Often it was a familiar wound being activated, and your body mistook that activation for destiny. But I am teaching you discernment now. You will learn the difference between a spark and a sanctuary. You will learn the difference between being wanted and being held, and you will no longer call anxiety connection just because it makes you feel alive. Stay with me, I am not condemning the way you felt. I am correcting what you believed it meant, because what is truly sent by me does not require you to shrink to be kept. What is truly covenant does not demand you betray yourself for attention. And the moment you see the counterfeit pattern clearly, you stop begging the mirror to become a home. You let it speak, you take the wisdom, and you walk forward, clean, sober, and unashamed. And now the mirror turns, and I show you the first reflection not to accuse you, but to name you accurately. You became hyper-aware. You watch their tone. You track their timing. You read their pauses like prophecy. You learned how to feel the room before you ever asked for what you needed. You became hyper-responsible, carrying conversations, carrying moods, carrying the weight of keeping it good so it would not fall apart. You became hyper-available, answering quickly, adjusting your schedule, shrinking your needs, offering more and more of yourself like a tribute, hoping the offering would purchase permanence. And you called it love, but beneath it was a wound. Because there was a hidden vow living in your nervous system. You may never have spoken it out loud, but you lived it. If I do enough, they won't leave. If I'm easy enough, they won't change. If I anticipate everything, I won't be abandoned. Do you hear how exhausting that is? You were not only trying to be loved, you were trying to prevent loss by performance. You were working for what was supposed to be given. And I am telling you the truth your wound could not believe. I do not give love as wages. I do not pay you affection for your usefulness. I do not measure you by your output and then decide if you are worth keeping. I give love as my nature because I am love. You cannot earn what I am. You can only receive what I am. And the moment you treat love like a salary, you will live like an employee in relationships, clocking in, proving, producing, fearing termination every time you make a mistake. Somewhere, long before this person, you learned a script. Maybe it was loud, maybe it was subtle. Maybe you grew up around stress where peace depended on your performance. Maybe approval came when you were helpful, impressive, quiet, or strong. Maybe you learned that being good meant being undemanding, and being needed meant being safe. I am not asking you to blame your parents, or your past, or the people who were also doing the best they knew. I am asking you to see the pattern with clean eyes, because what was formed in childhood often returns in adulthood wearing a new face, and you mistake the familiar ache for destiny. So hear me. If you had to perform to be kept, the mirror is showing you a wound, not your worth. Their inconsistency did not reveal that you are unlovable. It revealed that a part of you still believes love must be maintained by effort, not honored by covenant. And this is the pivot I am offering you. The moment you stop earning love, you begin receiving it. The moment you stop auditioning, you begin abiding. You will still be generous, but not transactional. You will still be devoted, but not self-erasing. You will still love deeply, but you will no longer call anxiety investment. Come closer. Let this be your new vow. I will not hustle for what God designed to hold me. And as you break agreement with performance, I will teach you how to rest without fear, how to speak your needs without apology, how to be present without begging. This is how the wound closes. This is how your love becomes clean. This is how you return to the kind of relationship where you are not kept by your usefulness, but cherished by your being. And now I bring the mirror closer, because there is a second reflection you have tried to keep hidden, under maturity, under I'm fine, under the crown of self-control. It is the paradox you cannot explain. You crave closeness, yet you panic when it arrives. You pray for intimacy, yet when someone comes near, your chest tightens, your mind starts scanning for exits, your spirit starts bracing for the moment it changes. You chase, yet you distrust. You want to be chosen, yet you keep a hand on the door because a younger part of you believes closeness is the beginning of loss. Listen to me. The fear of abandonment is not always loud. Sometimes it is sophisticated. Sometimes it wears wisdom like jewelry. Sometimes it calls itself discernment, but it is really dread. It makes you monitor what you should simply receive. It makes you check what you should simply trust. It makes you read the room when you should be resting in love. And because you do not want to feel powerless again, you start trying to control what cannot be controlled. This is how the fear becomes a system. You check their last scene. You count the minutes. You test them with silence to see if they will pursue. You compare yourself to people you do not even know. You need constant reassurance, not because you are needy, but because your nervous system is still living in an old story where love vanished without warning. You ask questions you already know the answer to, just to see if the answer stays the same. You interpret neutrality as rejection. You interpret delay as replacement. You do not just want love, you want guarantees. And when you cannot get guarantees, you try to become the guarantee by vigilance, by control, by proving, by anticipating. And you have called yourself toxic for it. You have condemned your jealousy. You have hated your anxiety. But I am telling you, those are not proof that you are evil. They are proof that you are unhealed and still protecting the child in you who learned that being left is a possibility you must always be ready for. Jealousy is often grief with its fists up. Anxiety is often a watchman that never learned how to sleep. And I am not offended by the parts of you that are afraid. I am inviting them into light, because what you keep in darkness will keep driving your choices like a hidden engine. This is what Jung called the shadow, not a demon, not a curse, but the disowned part of you that you pushed away to survive, the part that felt too much, the part that needed too much, the part that learned to clench, to analyze, to brace, because softness once cost you something. And when that shadow is not integrated, it does not disappear. It whispers, it leaks, it tests, it attaches, it demands proof, because it has no inner safety. But when you bring it to me, it becomes a doorway, it becomes information, it becomes the very language I use to lead you back to yourself. So do not be ashamed that you felt threatened by love. Do not be ashamed that you feared the very thing you asked me for. I am not exposing this to humiliate you. I am exposing it to free you. Because the fear you tried to hide became the language I used to find you. I let the relationship press on that tender place so you could finally see it, name it, and stop calling it just how I am. You are not doomed to live guarded. You are not destined to keep chasing people who keep you anxious. You are learning, right now, that you can be close without controlling, loved without checking, secure without testing. And as you let me touch this fear, you will discover something holy. You do not have to wear a crown of vigilance anymore, because I am teaching your heart how to be held without bracing for impact. And now, I show you the third reflection, the one that sounds like wisdom, the one that disguises itself as loyalty, the one that lets you suffer and call it love. You did not only love who they were, you loved who they could be. You loved the version of them that showed up in flashes on the good day, in the soft voice, in the late-night confession, in the one perfect moment where they finally sounded like the person you had been praying for. And you held that moment like scripture. You held it like a sign. You held it like evidence that if you just waited a little longer, if you just understood a little deeper, if you just loved a little harder, the rest of them would come. But listen to me. Consistency is not a small thing. It is the language of truth. And what they consistently chose is what they were. Not the apology they gave once. Not the future they described when they felt guilty. Not the tenderness they offered when they feared losing you. Their pattern was the message. Their repetition was the reality. And you kept translating their inconsistency into growth, because your heart did not want to grieve what your intuition already knew. This is the trap of potential. Potential feels holy because it resembles prophecy. It feels like a calling. It feels like destiny trying to break through. And yes, I have shown you glimpses in people before. Yes, I have given you compassion. Yes, I have given you a heart that can see beneath behavior. But prophecy without fruit becomes fantasy, and I will not let you live inside fantasy and call it faith. I will not let you confuse a glimpse with a guarantee. Potential is not a promise. What is not sustained is not sent. And hear me closely, because I am not correcting your compassion. I am correcting your self-erasure. Intercession is not the same as entitlement to your access. Praying for someone is not the same as paying for their healing with your peace. You can love a soul and still refuse the cycle. You can bless them and still close the door. You can hope for their freedom and still honor the boundaries that protect your own. I did not teach you patience so you could abandon yourself. I did not teach you mercy so you could tolerate disrespect. I did not teach you loyalty so you could call neglect a season. So I am giving you a new metric, a holy measurement that will save you years of confusion. Consistent character is louder than intense moments. A single wave of affection cannot cancel an ocean of avoidance. A dramatic declaration cannot replace daily devotion. What is from me does not require you to survive on peak experiences while your spirit starves in between. I will not let you confuse waiting with worship. I will not let you confuse patience with self-abandonment. And the moment you accept this, the spell breaks. You stop chasing a person's potential like it is your assignment, and you begin choosing what is real, what is stable, what is sustained. Because I am not leading you into a love that visits you. I am leading you into a love that stays. And now you ask me the question you have been afraid to ask, because it feels like accusing me. If you were teaching me, why did you let it end like that? Why the cutoff? Why the silence? Why the sudden change? Listen to me. When I remove them, it is not punishment. It is protection and precision. It is not me dismissing your feelings. It is me defending your future. The door closed because your destiny cannot fit through that smallness. You were trying to carry a wide calling through a narrow relationship. You were trying to grow into the person I am forming, while staying attached to a pattern that required you to shrink. And I will not bless self-betrayal with longevity. I will not let what is temporary take up the space reserved for what is true. I will not let you keep calling a cage commitment just because you decorated it with hope. And yes, I know it felt harsh. I know it felt like it happened too fast, like one day you were inside and the next day you were locked out. But I am naming the mercy in what you called loss. I cut off what kept reopening your wound. I ended the cycle that kept you bleeding in quiet ways, through waiting, through overthinking, through apologizing for needs that were not sins. Some of you were healing, and then re-entering the same conversation, the same ambiguity, the same hunger. You would stitch yourself up and then go back to the blade, and I love you too much to let you confuse repeated injury with devotion. And hear me about timing, because you think I was late. I was not late, I was exact. I allowed enough time for the pattern to become undeniable, but not enough to destroy you. I let you see the repetition, so you would stop romanticizing the exception. I let the inconsistency reveal itself, so you would stop blaming your sensitivity. And then I intervened, before bitterness became your personality, before distrust became your worldview, before you started calling numbness wisdom. Do not let the suddenness teach you the wrong lesson. Quick endings can carry long lessons, and the lesson is not, you are unlovable. The lesson is, you are awakening. The lesson is, your discernment is maturing. The lesson is, you are no longer available for crumbs. What left quickly did not expose your lack of value. It exposed the lack of capacity. It revealed that what you were asking for was real, and what they were offering was not. So now the mirror has spoken. Now you are no longer guessing. Now you are no longer pleading for clarity from someone who profits from confusion. And this is where your power returns. You get to choose differently, not from revenge, not from fear, from wisdom, from healed hunger, from identity that no longer needs to be confirmed by access. I am not taking love away from you. I am removing what could not hold the kind of love I am about to entrust to you. So now I take you to a well, because I have always met my children at wells, at ordinary places where the thirst becomes undeniable. In John 4, there is a woman who has lived through repetition. Not one mistake, not one chapter, but a pattern. Relationship after relationship, belonging offered and taken away, names and beds and homes that promised shelter and then proved temporary. And you have read that story as if it is only about her sin, but I am telling you, it is also about her thirst. It is about the soul reaching for water in containers that cannot hold it. Do you see how mercy moves in that moment? I do not wait for her to become polished. I do not demand that she perform holiness before I speak to her. I meet her in the heat of her day, in the place she came to hide, and I ask her for a drink not because I am needy, but because I am opening a conversation. And then, with tenderness that unsettles, I touch the real thing. I bring the pattern into the light, not to humiliate her, not to announce her history to the town as a spectacle, but to break the spell that kept her confusing thirst for love. Because when you keep returning to the same kind of person, the same kind of absence, the same kind of instability, it is not always because you love pain. Often it is because a part of you is still trying to be quenched. You called it chemistry. You called it timing. You called it, I just keep attracting the same. But I call it misdirected thirst. And I am not offended by your thirst. I am offended only by the way you have been drinking sand and blaming yourself for still being thirsty. Hear me. Your history is not a stain to me. It is a trail. It is evidence. It is the map of where you have been searching for identity, where you have been bargaining for safety, where you have been trying to purchase belonging with your body, your effort, your patience, your forgiveness, your silence. And just like I did at that well, I will name what is true without crushing what is tender. I will say, this is what happened, without saying, this is all you are. I will reveal without disgracing. I will expose without abandoning. And this is the turn you have needed. I do not bring up your 5 husbands to mock you. I bring them up to meet you. I do not uncover the pattern to condemn you. I uncover it to liberate you. Because the moment you stop pretending the thirst is about them, you finally let me satisfy what has been underneath it the whole time. The relationship was the mirror. Yes, but the mirror is not the ending. The mirror is the moment of truth where you realize you were not difficult, you were not foolish, you were not too much, you were thirsty. And I am here, not with a lecture, but with living water truth that makes you whole, love that does not disappear, and a belonging that does not require you to bleed to earn it. Now, my child, this is where you ask for closure, and you think closure is a sentence they will finally say, an apology that finally lands, an explanation that finally makes it make sense. But hear me, closure is not something they give you. Closure is something you receive when you stop letting the past keep collecting rent in your mind. Forgiveness is not you pretending it did not hurt. Forgiveness is you refusing to keep paying for it with your peace. Because bitterness is a quiet bond. It is an attachment that wears the mask of justice. You replay the conversation. You rehearse what you should have said. You scroll back to prove to yourself that you were not crazy. You retell the story because a part of you believes if you understand it perfectly, you will finally be free of it. But the more you replay the injustice, the more you keep them central. And I did not remove them from your life just for you to enthrone them in your thoughts. Do not let what ended outside of you continue inside of you. Do not let the wound become a home. And I need you to separate 2 things you have been blending together, forgiveness and access. You can forgive without reopening communication. You can release without returning to harm. You can let go without inviting them back into your body, your bed, your inbox, your nervous system. Forgiveness is not reunion. Forgiveness is release. It is the moment you say, you will not control the atmosphere of my future. It is the moment you take your heart out of their hands, even if they never admit what they did with it. So take this posture with me, simple and holy, and speak it until your spirit believes it. I bless what was good. I release what was false. I reclaim what was stolen. I bless what taught me. I release what twisted me. I reclaim my time, my tenderness, my discernment, my ability to trust wisely. This is not denial. This is direction. This is you turning the mirror into wisdom instead of turning the wound into a shrine. And yes, grief will come in waves. Some days you will feel strong, and then a song, a place, a smell will break the surface, and you will feel it again. Do not panic. That is not failure. That is healing, having a memory. Let the wave pass through without handing it a steering wheel. Bring it to me. Let it speak, and then let it go. Forgiveness is not saying it was okay. It is saying you will be free. And I am leading you into a freedom that does not require their participation, only your surrender. Now I teach you the holy no, because some of you have been trying to heal with an open door. You have been asking me to close a wound while you keep touching it. You have been praying for peace while keeping a pathway for disturbance. And I am not condemning you. This is what the unhealed do when they are afraid of loneliness. But hear me, boundaries are not revenge. They are the architecture of your new life. A boundary is not a wall built out of hatred. It is a door with a lock. It is love with structure. It is mercy with wisdom. It is you saying, I will not pretend I can handle what keeps harming me. Because some of you have called it maturity to stay accessible, when it was actually fear of being misunderstood. You have called it kindness to keep the line open, when it was actually the hope that they might finally become safe. But I am leading you out of the cycle, and cycles end when access ends. So let me make it plain. No more late-night emotional access that leaves your nervous system shaking and your morning filled with regret. No more breadcrumb conversations, those little, hey, stranger messages, those half apologies, those check-ins that offer warmth without responsibility. No more checking their page, their stories, their new followers, their new life, as if pain is proof and surveillance is closure. No more friendship that keeps reopening the same wound under the mask of being grown. Some of you keep calling it friendship, but your body calls it relapse. Your peace is not supposed to be negotiated every time they feel lonely. And I know the guilt that rises in you when you consider this. You fear being mean, you fear being cold, you fear that protecting yourself makes you prideful. But listen to me, I do not call it cruelty when you refuse what poisons you. I call it wisdom when you protect your healing. I call it stewardship when you guard what I am rebuilding. You are not punishing them. You are disciplining your own access. You are not trying to control their choices. You are choosing your own future. This is how you will know your identity is rising. You will set a boundary even when it costs you comfort. You will keep the no even when you feel lonely. Because boundaries are proof that you believe you are valuable, even without immediate affection. They are proof that you are no longer auditioning for love. They are proof that you would rather feel the clean ache of loneliness than the familiar ache of self-betrayal. And now I will give you a practice, because deliverance is often a routine, not a moment. When your hand reaches for the phone, replace contact with ritual. Pray out loud, not as performance, but as interruption. Journal, write the truth until the spell breaks. Text a trusted friend, bring the temptation into community before it becomes a decision. Serve, move your love towards something that can hold it. And if you need wise counsel, do not spiritualize avoiding help. Let healing be thorough. Therapy is not a lack of faith. It is often the tool I use to teach you language for what you survived. Keep the boundary, my child, not because you are hard, because you are becoming whole. And wholeness has a gate. Wholeness has standards. Wholeness does not beg for crumbs and call it a meal. And now, after you keep the boundary, you feel it, the quiet, the space, the sudden absence that makes the room sound louder than it used to. And you wonder why it hurts if it was right. You wonder why your body misses what your spirit knows was harming you. Listen to me. That emptiness is not proof you made a mistake. It is withdrawal. It is your nervous system unlearning a pattern it called normal. You were conditioned to cycles, highs and drops, messages and silence, closeness and confusion, and when the cycle stops, your body panics, not because the relationship was holy, but because the rhythm was familiar. The quiet feels like loss because your mind was trained to equate intensity with love. But intensity is not intimacy, and chaos is not connection. So I will say it plainly. The void you feel is not a verdict. It is a vacancy. It is room. It is the space where I am undoing the counterfeit filling so you can finally receive the true one. You called it emptiness, but I call it capacity. You called it loneliness, but I call it preparation. Because you were not only attached to them, you were attached to what you tried to get from them. Peace, worth, safety, chosenness, relief from the old ache. And that is why it felt like drinking, even when it was sand. It touched your thirst for a moment, then it scraped you, dried you, and made you thirstier. That is the deception of sand. It feels like something in your mouth, but it cannot become life in your soul. Jung called it spiritual thirst, the soul reaching for the infinite through finite cups. And I am not angry at your thirst. I am naming it so you stop bargaining with people for what only I can be. I am the source of the peace you were trying to extract from their attention. I am the safety you were trying to negotiate through their consistency. I am the worth you were trying to prove through their choosing. I do not give you living water as a reward for getting over them. I give it because you were always meant to drink from me first. So now, my child, replace the habit with a holy refill. In the morning, before your mind starts searching, surrender simple words. I give you my day. I give you my cravings. I give you my memories. Take a portion of scripture and do not rush it, chew it, stay with it, let it read you. When the urge spikes, breathe a short prayer with your breath. Jesus, be near on the inhale. Jesus, be my peace on the exhale. Practice gratitude not as denial, but as reorientation. Name 3 real gifts in front of you so your brain learns safety again. And when grief rises, do not shame it. Lament honestly with me. Tell me the truth. I miss them. I miss the idea. I miss the warmth. Your honesty will not scare me away. It will make room for me to fill what performance could not. And I promise you this. When you stop drinking sand, your mouth stops craving it. At first you will still taste it, because memory lingers. But as I fill you day by day, breath by breath, you will begin to recognize what is nourishing and what is only texture. The ache will change. The silence will stop sounding like rejection and start sounding like rest. And what you called emptiness will reveal itself as the beginning of satisfaction, the only love that actually satisfies, moving in, not to distract you from your healing, but to complete it. And now, my child, you will ask about soul ties, because you can feel how the memory reaches for you. You can feel how a name can change your breathing, how a picture can pull you backwards, how a random hour can become a portal. And some of you have been terrified, thinking, if I still think about them, it must mean they still have me. Listen to me. Not every memory is a soul tie. Not every moment of longing is spiritual bondage. You are a human being with a nervous system, with history, with association. A song can ache without being a chain. But there is a difference between remembrance and torment. There is a difference between grief and obsession. When the thought does not pass, when it circles like a vulture, when it steals your focus, drains your joy, bends your day toward checking, stalking, rehearsing, fantasizing, then yes, you are touching an unhealthy attachment. And I do not expose that to shame you. I expose it so you stop fighting it with superstition and start breaking it with truth. Because freedom is not always a dramatic moment. It is a chosen return to truth, again and again and again. This is how you break it the right way, not by screaming at a memory while you still secretly worship the fantasy, not by calling it deliverance while you keep a door cracked in your heart. You begin with repentance, not for loving, not for hoping, but for self-abandonment. For the times you made access more important than peace. For the times you silenced your discernment to keep a connection. For the times you called anxiety chemistry and attachment destiny. Bring that to me without performance, and let it be clean. Father, I repent for abandoning myself. I repent for making them my measure. I repent for drinking sand. Then you renounce what kept you bound. Renounce the fantasy. Renounce the future you kept editing in your mind. Renounce the version of them you kept using to override who they consistently were. Because fantasy is a counterfeit altar. It looks like hope, but it feeds obsession. And after you renounce, you reclaim. You call your identity back from every place you scattered it. You stop leaving pieces of yourself in their inbox, in their absence, in their opinion, in their choosing. So speak it with me, and do not whisper it like a wish. Say it like a boundary in the spirit. I release them from my mind. I release them from my body. I release them from my imagination. I call my energy back. I call my peace back. I call my attention back. I belong to God. My love is not for sale. My future is not tied to a person who could not hold me. And hear me, you do not only cut ties, you attach to what is healthy. The empty place must be filled with truth, with community, with purpose, with the sound of my voice. Let safe people hold you accountable when the urge rises. Put your love to work in places that multiply life. Serve, create, build, heal. Because if you only remove, you will feel haunted by what used to fill the room. But if you replace, you will feel strengthened by what now occupies it. And when you relapse into checking, when you find your mind wandering back, do not call yourself a failure. Call it a signal. Return to the practice. Come back to me quickly. Tell the truth quickly. Choose truth quickly. This is not you starting over. This is you staying free. Freedom is not a one-time event. It is a daily allegiance. And every time you return to truth, the tie weakens, the spell breaks, and your heart learns a new home. And now I tell you why it felt like it targeted you. Why it did not just bruise you, but echoed through your ribs. Why it did not simply disappoint you, but rearranged your sleep, your appetite, your confidence, your sense of self. You thought it meant you were weak. You thought it meant you were foolish. You thought it meant you were rejected. But hear me, this pain did not mark you as rejected. It revealed you as someone I am refining for greater love. Because only certain souls feel love with this kind of intensity. Only certain hearts can walk into a room and sense what is unspoken. Only certain spirits can detect the wound beneath a smile, the fear beneath confidence, the loneliness beneath charisma. And that is a gift. But if that gift is untrained, you will confuse empathy with assignment. You will confuse chemistry with covenant. You will confuse your ability to see good in them with a command to stay while they harm you. And counterfeit bonds are more dangerous for you, not because you are pathetic, but because your depth makes illusions feel like prophecy. You are not too much. You were made for depth. You were made to carry tenderness without turning it into self-erasure. You were made to love with presence, with patience, with courage. But I did not design you to chase love like a beggar. I did not give you a sensitive spirit so you could live on crumbs and call it humility. I did not give you discernment so you could silence it to keep connection. Sensitivity without wisdom becomes a trap. So I allowed the mirror, not to shame you, but to train you so your gift would not become the doorway to your captivity. This is the lesson I am carving into you. Your love must have a backbone. Your compassion must have boundaries. Your desire must answer to truth. I am upgrading you from anxious attachment to secure identity, from needing to be chosen to knowing you are mine, from chasing what runs to choosing what remains, from interpreting silence as a verdict to recognizing it as information, from performing for affection to resting in sonship, in daughterhood, in belonging that cannot be revoked by another person's inconsistency. And I promise you, if you let me finish this work, your tenderness will not be your liability. It will become your leadership. You will counsel without bleeding. You will love without losing yourself. You will be present without being possessed by fear. You will discern quickly, release cleanly, and commit wisely. And the same depth that once made you vulnerable to counterfeits will become the very strength that protects others, because you will not only know how to love, you will know how to love rightly. Now, I do not want you to merely survive what happened. I want you to understand it, because there is a difference between a scar you carry and a lesson you own. And if you do not turn the mirror into wisdom, you will keep meeting the same spirit in a new face, wearing a different name, speaking with a different accent, offering a different kind of attention, and your unhealed places will call it fate. But I am not letting you repeat what I am trying to complete. So listen to me. Take what you have been replaying in your mind and bring it down onto paper, not to obsess, not to punish yourself, but to integrate. Write down what the mirror showed you, the triggers that made you abandon your standards, the moments your body warned you and you overrode it, the red flags you renamed into nuance, the needs you silenced so you could stay chosen. Some of you minimized inconsistency because you were terrified of being alone. Some of you tolerated disrespect because you were addicted to the relief of attention. Some of you ignored your own voice because you thought love meant endurance. I am not accusing you, I am teaching you, because regret is only poison when you drink it as shame, but regret becomes medicine when you drink it as instruction. And I will give you a framework simple enough to remember when your emotions rise, sharp enough to cut the cycle at the root. Ask yourself, what did I tolerate that harmed me? What did I chase that never chased me back? What did I fear would happen if I told the truth? What did I deny because I wanted the story more than I wanted reality? And then ask the question that ends the pattern. What will I choose now? Not what will you feel now? Feelings will come and go like weather, but what will you choose now as a covenant with your future self? Because I am reframing your story. You were not left, you were redirected. You were not wasted, you were awakened. You were not discarded, you were delivered from an agreement that would have shrunk you. The ending was not proof that you are unworthy. It was proof that you are ready to see. And seeing is mercy. Seeing is the beginning of mature love, the kind that does not require you to betray yourself to keep it. So now, my child, do not build an altar to what hurt you. Build wisdom from it. Keep the list, keep the lesson, keep the revelation. Let it become discernment, not suspicion. Let it become standards, not walls. Let it become boundaries, not bitterness. This is how you graduate. You bless the teacher, you take the truth, and you leave the classroom. And now we are about to pray, because I do not only want you to learn this in your mind, I want you to seal it in your spirit. I want the lesson to become so anchored in you that the next time the familiar pattern knocks, you will recognize it quickly, and you will not call it love. You will call it what it is, and you will choose differently. Now pray with me, my child, and do not pray this like a performance. Pray it like a turning of the key. Pray it like you are walking out of a room you will not re-enter. Father, I come to you with a heart that has been pulled in directions it was never meant to live in. I am tired of carrying what you never assigned. I am tired of rehearsing what cannot be rewritten. So I bring you the person, I bring you the attachment, I bring you the ache, and I place it in your hands without negotiation. And now, in the quiet place of my spirit, I release them. I release their name, I release their face, I release their voice. I release the version of them I invented to survive the disappointment. I release the fantasy that they would suddenly become safe. I release the timeline I was trying to force how it should have happened, when it should have turned, what I should have received. I release the need to be chosen by them as proof that I am worthy. I refuse to beg for confirmation from a place that could not hold me. I release what was never mine, and I keep what you gave me. My dignity, my tenderness, my discernment, my future. Cleanse me, Father. Wash the places where memory has been contaminating my peace. When triggers rise, songs, places, dates, late night silence meet me there, quiet, intrusive thoughts. Close the mental tabs I keep reopening. Give me peace that does not depend on answers. Peace that does not require an apology. Peace that does not wait for understanding to arrive before it rests. Let my nervous system learn safety again. Let my sleep be restored. Let my body stop bracing for what is not coming. And I ask you now, put protection around my heart. No more emotional trespassing. No more midnight grief spirals that steal tomorrow. No more checking. No more reaching. No more returning to the edge of the wound to see if it still hurts. Teach me the holy no again when I feel weak. Strengthen my boundaries until they feel like love, not punishment. Guard my eyes. Guard my imagination. Guard my mouth from reopening doors you closed in mercy. And now, Father, fill the vacant places. Where I looked for worth, pour in your affirmation. Where I looked for safety, establish your steadiness. Where I looked for belonging, anchor me in your love. Where I looked for joy in their attention, awaken joy that comes from being whole. Replace what was counterfeit with what is true. Replace what was unstable with what remains. Replace what was sand with living water. I surrender, Lord. I trust your removal. I trust your replacement. And I declare this with you. I can let go without losing myself. I can release without becoming bitter. I can heal without hardening. I am yours, and I will be soft and whole. Amen. Now, my child, you have prayed, release, and heaven heard you. But I do not only heal you by what you lay down, I establish you by what you speak next. Because your next season cannot be built on the vocabulary of your wounds. It must be built on truth. So open your mouth with me, not to convince me, but to align you. Let your words become a gate. Let your declarations become discipline. Let your future hear you coming. Say it, I am not hard to love. I am learning to be rightly loved. I am not too much. I am not too sensitive. I am not too deep. I am a person with a real heart, and I will no longer shrink it to fit someone's capacity. I will not audition for love. I will not perform for consistency. I will not beg for basic honor. I am mine before I am anyone else's, and I am loved by God without earning, without chasing, without proving. Now, speak discernment, because discernment is the oil that keeps your love from burning down your life. Say it. I will not confuse intensity with intimacy. I will not confuse attention with alignment. I will not call anxiety a sign. I will not call unpredictability passion. I will not rename red flags into mystery just because the old wound recognizes the old pattern. I will listen to what my body has been trying to tell me. I will believe what is consistent, not what is charismatic. Now speak peace, because peace is how I confirm what is for you. Say it. What is for me will not require me to betray myself. What is for me will not demand that I abandon my standards to keep a connection. What is for me will not punish me with silence. What is for me will not make me dizzy, small, ashamed, and unstable. My yes will have rest in it. My love will have dignity in it. My relationships will not be a battlefield where I keep bleeding to prove I can endure. And now speak future love, because I am not only removing, I am rebuilding. Say it. I will recognize consistency, and I will honor it. I will honor boundaries, and I will not resent them. I will choose mutual pursuit, not one-sided striving. I will choose someone who can hold my softness without exploiting it, who can speak truth without disappearing, who can repair without manipulating, who can commit without keeping me in suspense. I will not be impressed by potential that never becomes practice. I will be led by fruit. I will be led by character. I will be led by peace. And hear me as you declare it. The mirror season ends here. The season where everything had to hurt you to teach you is closing. I am not sending you back into the same lesson with a new name. Now the covenant season begins in wisdom. The season where love is not a chase, where connection is not confusion, where your heart is not a hostage. Your next season will be led by discernment, not desperation. And because you have been trained through the fire, you will not only love, you will love rightly. Now seal it, my child, because what you whisper in private must become what you stand in publicly, not for performance, but for power. When you publicly agree with freedom, you strengthen your private obedience to it. So write this in the comments, as a stake in the ground, as a witness against the old pattern. I release what was never mine, and I receive God's healing and right love. Do not edit it to sound impressive. Let it be clean, let it be true. Let your own words hear you choose wholeness. And if you know someone who has been starving for closure, someone replaying texts, someone carrying a breakup like a verdict, share this with them, not as gossip, not as entertainment, but as peace. You are not sending them drama, you are sending them a door out. You are not spreading a story, you are spreading a lifeline. And yes, subscribe, turn on the notifications, not as a platform ritual, but as a spiritual decision. Join this space for the messages that will keep teaching you how to interpret pain as my guidance, how to discern what is aligned, how to recognize mirrors before you call them promises. Now walk it out this week with one simple, holy triad. Choose one boundary you will keep, one you will not reopen. Choose one prayer you will pray daily, out loud, even when you don't feel it. Choose one habit you will replace, checking with journaling, spiraling with worship, isolating with community, fantasizing with truth. Small obediences become strongholds of peace. And hear me as you go, you are not behind. You are being rebuilt. You are not late. You are being refined. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared for love that does not cost you yourself.